My husband, 29 male, and I, 30 NB, have been married for 5 years. I gave birth to our first child in September, a girl. My husband was present for most of my labor, but things went very pear-shaped and I had to have an emergency C-section. The doctors told him to leave the room and wait outside. In short, he did not see our daughter be born. A week ago he informed me that he wants to divorce and start over on his dreams of having a family. He insists that he cannot bond with our daughter and says it's because he didn't see her being born. He said a lot about how it's always been a dream of his to have a small, close-knit family, and now he can't have that with me because of the C-section and is not being in the room. His dad suggested therapy, but husband refused, saying he knew it wouldn't work. I've made sure he knows I'm open to the idea if he changes his mind, but he's been very insistent that he knows this can't be fixed. Part of me knows I'm basically asking for a magic spell here, but does anyone have any ideas how/if this can be fixed? I'll try to answer any questions anyone may have. I realized in my late teens, and he's known since before we started dating. We went to the same college and met in a shared class, and were friends for about a year before anything romantic developed. He was much more active with her before announcing his desire to start over. Now he doesn't do much with her beyond basic babysitting stuff when I'm at work. Nancy. That baby is made of their body. I can't compare to that. My work started at birth and I wasn't there, so I don't feel like I ever got hired, if that makes sense? Yeah, he compared it to not having an employment contract. I get the metaphor, I guess, but I'm not sure how it translates to him not being able to bond. Several people made transphobic comments and several other people asked if maybe my lack of gender was an issue. I assumed no, because husband had known that I'm non-binary since before we started dating, but I did bring it up while we were with the therapist. Husband insists that no, it has nothing to do with anything. He didn't care about what I am but how I did. The therapist was very focused on trying to help me understand, and I appreciate that. No complaints with him. I'm still completely in the dark, though, and husband has started talking about choosing a lawyer. He says he wants a clean break before daughter gets too attached. Oop, I have no intention of letting him off the support hook. His dad knows, his mother passed away about a decade ago. Phil isn't too keen on husband's reasoning. I haven't told my family yet. Phil is firmly on my side. I made husband tell Phil all this mess when he first told me. Phil also tried to push husband for therapy, but husband says it can't be fixed. This is probably going to be long and it isn't a happy update. My other posts can be seen in my post history, but the short of it is that I, 30 NB, gave birth to my daughter in September. My STB ex-husband, 29M, did not see her birth. Things went very badly and I needed emergency intervention. He was not in the room for the C-section. About a month and a half ago he informed me that he cannot bond with her because he did not see her be born and he wants to divorce so he can start over on his dreams of a close-knit family. We have filed. I have taken daughter and moved back in with my parents, who aren't very happy about the divorce but are thrilled to have the chance to nanny daughter. Their words, not mine. Life was in stasis for about a week after my last post until Phil asked us to come over for dinner. He informed me that STBX had asked for his help paying for a lawyer. He had agreed with the requirement that we all sit down and have one last talk about the situation. He opened with saying that he thinks that getting this over with would be best for me and daughter. STBX looked a little hurt at this, so he's willing to help, but he wanted to take one last shot at fixing it. The one last shot ended up being several hours of talking. Phil bluntly demanded that STBX explain his reasoning. STBX repeated the can't bond thing. Phil asked why. The employment contract analogy was brought up again. After much back, forth, what do you mean by this? Why that? Phil just said I'm not buying this. What's the real reason, STBX? STBX insisted till the end that what he'd been saying all along was his reasoning. He did not see daughter be born, so he can't bond. He tried, he insisted. The connection isn't there. He was supposed to connect when daughter was born. There was supposed to be a spark of connection between them, but that spark can only happen right at birth, I guess? In his mind he can't get it now. Phil asked if STBX thought daughter wasn't his. STBX insists he has no doubts he is daughter's biological father. Phil asked if STBX was seeing someone else. Was there a woman or another pregnancy somewhere? STBX did not react well to this. He threw his phone down on the table and said that we were free to search it. He's not a scumbag. After that the conversation turned to post-divorce life. STBX offered up that he'd been running the numbers and would volunteer $50 per month alimony and $50 per month in child support. He doesn't have to do either, mind, because we're divorcing and he wants to cut all ties with the kid, but he wants to be fair. $50 in a limo. And why? Whatever, I have a job and a roof over our heads. I don't need it. $50 in child support? That is a lot less whatever. But I'm refusing to stress about it. The court will handle CS amounts. I'm making myself not be angry and let them deal with it. I admit I tuned out most of the rest of Phil's attempt to talk sense into his son after that comment. I think that was when the coffin finally nailed itself shut. I started packing when we got home and went to my parents' house the next day. I'm no longer talking to STBX, his lawyer talks to mine. We haven't spoken in almost 3 weeks. I don't think I need to tell you that he hasn't shown any concern for daughter, but here I am anyway. The day after I got there, my sister kidnapped me to her place. We got very drunk, daughter was with parents, not us, talked about everything, and I screamed a lot. I got most of it out of my system. After that we had more drinks and watched terrible horror movies. I woke up the next day with the headache from hell, but otherwise feeling better than I had in a long time. My job can't transfer me, just my luck, but I've been promised a glowing reference and I'm cashing out what little paid leave I have left to add to my savings. Phil asked after the failed conversation if I would be cutting him off. I assured him that he might not see us as much because of how far away my parents live and not knowing where I'll end up, but he's not getting rid of me or daughter that easily. He was very happy to hear that. So that's where I am. Papers have been filed, daughter and I have moved out of the house. I'm doing my best to ignore STBX's existence. Thank you all again for listening to me cry and complain over the past couple months. Update 2. My story can be seen in my post history, but the short of it is that my 31NB ex-husband, 29M, did not see my daughter's birth and decided that because he wasn't there he couldn't bond, so he and I are divorcing and he's going to start over. Daughter T earned 1 this month. She landed on nod as her first word. I suspect this is because Phil brought home a foster to adopt dog a few months back whose previous owners called her Nod or Nodder. Daughter loves the heck out of this dog, you guys. Phil sends me pictures of her every day to show to daughter. Ex-husband and I are just waiting on some final paperwork for the divorce to be complete. He has not contested anything. He did look the judge in the face and repeat the whole didn't see birth, can't bond thing. His lawyer did try and defend that claim. He presented studies that he claims said things about damages to bonds when fathers weren't present and actively involved for everything, but ex-husband was. He was there and active and involved my entire pregnancy, and was present for my entire labor until things went wrong. It wasn't a case of ooh hey you knocked someone up 5 years ago, now bond with this kid. Daughter was definitely less than an hour old when he held her for the first time, probably less than half an hour. And I had proof for this claim too. Among other things, I had pictures of the two of us at multiple prenatal appointments. Phil was also willing to file a statement talking about how ex and he were involved in my pregnancy. Needless to say, the judge was not impressed with my ex's lawyer's arguments. He tried to push my ex for therapy, made comments about how ex would regret this later. Ex stood stubborn with his I need to start over line. He has visitation for the paperwork. Care to guess if he's used it? He does also have to pay child support. If you've read my post history you might remember that he offered me a gigantic $50 a month. That's all he's been paying despite the judge ordering a lot more, so that's a fight I'm going to have to steel myself for. I'm surprised he started scanning out before the divorce was even final, but he did tell me and Phil that he's not a scumbag, so in his mind he's probably just keeping true to his word or something. He's shown no interest in daughter. No other children, pregnancies or potential partners have popped up either. As best Phil can tell, ex is single and not showing any interest in dating yet. I don't know how I feel, really. It would make more sense if he was cheating. It would be easier to have something solid to point to, go fuck you into a tornado for making my life fall apart and then try to move on. But all lived evidence points to him honestly thinking he has to do this. I'm in therapy. I've found a place about middle of my parents and Phil, and I'm still doing freelance work. I would rate myself okay. Daughter is happy, healthy and kicking off. She will be fine. I plan to never speak to ex again once this paperwork is done. I just have to wait to be able to totally start over myself. Now on to second story. Mother-in-law gossiped about my inability to cook. After always supporting me, now I'm devastated and unsure if I should confront her. I, 20F, had a consensual arranged marriage to my husband, 23M, and we have a beautiful 6mo boy. My mother 45 and my mill 42F are childhood friends. My mom got married and moved abroad and lost all contact with her best friend. We moved back home in 2018. My mom got into contact with my mill in 2019 and they started catching up. My mom ended up liking my husband, who is the oldest son, a lot. But it was my mill who asked for my hand. We are religious, so my husband and I only talked under supervision of parents, and damn, I fell in love. He is smart, good looking and has a weird humor that I absolutely love. We got married pretty soon, which no one was expecting, but one thing led to another. The thing about me is that I cannot cook. I hate cooking or even being in the kitchen. I can do every other house chore, even laundry. My mom knew it and never forced me to be in the kitchen. In our culture, women belong in the kitchen, but obviously times are changing. My mom shared her concern on this and my mill SHR ugged it off, saying I am young and will learn if I wanted to. Emphasis on the wanted to, because throughout my first year of marriage she said that to everybody who asked if I knew how to cook. My mom's still worried because she didn't want my mill to throw remarks about this, because that is what most mills in my country do. I am also a student and also now a mother. It's hard to juggle all of this, which is why I try my best to take it easy on chores. I live with my in-laws and mostly do dishes or serve tea and biscuits to guests, and that is all. We also have a maid for cleaning the house and another maid for laundry. Many times, I have offered to make food for the family, but my mill always laughed and said that she wasn't that old. I boasted about her to everybody. Literally everybody. She is the kind of mill that girls in my country dream for. I have always loved her just like my mom and treated her as such. We do have some arguments, especially regarding the way I parent my son. She has some traditional views whereas I believe in facts. But we have both compromised on many things and it has been working very well. I have to emphasize on one more thing, and that is that my husband is not a huge fan of homemade food. He rarely eats at home and loves having food from different places. He also does his best to have healthy options. Multiple times whenever he comes home, there is no food left for him. There's 7 people in the family and they all eat a lot. So if someday, the food is really good, they finish it all up, because he comes home late at night. I feel very bad that my husband does not get his share, so I always volunteer to cook, but my husband just shrugs it off like it's just something he is used to and just orders something. I am sharing this to tell you that I have no obligation to cook because my husband does not mind not having homemade food, therefore there is no rush for me to learn because it's my job to look after him and not the whole family. Back to my mill. She never told me to cook. The few times I have cooked, it's because I force her to let me. Today, she went to my husband's aunt's house. The aunt lives very close to our house and visits almost every day. She loves my son and always comes to meet him. Today, my son was taking a nap when my mill left, and when he woke up, I decided to take him there too. I wanted to surprise them, which is why I quietly opened the entrance door. We live in a very safe neighborhood and always leave our main doors open, and could hear them from the living room. They couldn't see me as I was removing my slippers to enter. Just before I could come into their view, I heard the aunt say, when my Bill's fiancée gets married and moves into the family, the fiancée is the aunt's niece, she will handle the family well. My mill answered, yeah, my name, doesn't know how to do anything. Cannot even cook. To which that aunt replied, yes, my name, has no idea how to do anything. I literally wanted to turn around and leave. I was completely numb and my body just moved forward and they all saw me. The aunt just jumped into excitement and ran to grab my son, whereas my mill had a very awkward / dumbfounded kinda expression. I wanted to cry. This was exactly what my mother used to fear, and I always said that my mill would never say such things. I am so devastated to think that she was talking about this behind my back. She did not meet my eyes when I was there and I wanted to cry so bad. I am trying my best. She knows I am young and cannot do so many things at once. She always told me to take my time and is saying such awful things about me behind my back. I keep thinking why she even asked for my hand when she knew all these things. I know it's not a big deal, but it's just all I can think about. RN. Not even sure if I should talk about this to anybody. Definitely not my mom because she trusts her best friend a lot. I don't even know if sharing this with my husband is okay. Update 1. I am so devastated, and so disappointed. Maybe I am overreacting, but I just want to leave and go to my mom. So I stayed up till 2 a.m. to talk to my husband, but he did not come, so I just went to sleep. As soon as he woke up, I sat him down and burst into tears. I told him everything I felt and why I felt that way. He stayed quiet. I told him that I want to learn how to cook, but not instantly because it's not the easiest thing, especially with a 6mo that practically doesn't let me leave him with anybody else. My husband quietly listened. He even said he did not mind whether I cooked or not. He said he will never force me to learn, definitely not until baby gets older. This made me think he was understanding me. When I shared how his mother and aunt were talking about me, he simply said, I don't see what they said wrong. I continued to explain how she could have talked directly to me, but instead said I don't know how to do anything behind my back. I tried to make him understand that she always told me I could take my time, yet she expects me to learn it quickly. He just laughed and said I was overreacting and that all women gossip. I was baffled. Tears in my eyes, I left the room. It's not that big of a deal. But it's a shame that my husband did not understand how stupid I felt after hearing that. I got busy doing chores for my son. My husband has no office today, so he was just chilling. I was washing the dishes when my mill came and told me to come in my room because she wanted to talk. I got nervous because I am not a confrontational person. We sat down and she just kept going on and on about how she wants what is best for me. She kept giving reasons why she said what she said. She kept cutting me off, and all I was trying to say was that she should have shared her thoughts with me and not someone else. She just wouldn't listen to me. In the end, she complained how I shouldn't have told my husband about this. She said I'm trying to cause problems between them. I was speechless. I said that, if she could talk about me to someone else, then I could also talk about her to my husband. She started getting angry at this point and said that I was being rude and maybe this is my true face. She said she did not expect me to be such a typical dill who causes issues between her husband and his mother. She said I cannot believe what I brought into my house. And before I could answer, she left. I cried and cried. When my husband came into the room, he had a worried expression and asked me what happened. I just told him I want to go home. Currently packing my and baby stuff so I can go to my mom's. I have never felt this hurt by someone's behavior. My husband is trying to calm me down, but I just want to leave. I do not know what is going to happen now, but I know for sure I cannot live with this woman anymore. Update 2. I am still at my mom's place. It's been officially 2 whole weeks that I have been staying here. And while that may sound that things are not going okay, I'm glad to say things are so much better than I could have imagined. I came at my mom's and told her everything. She was furious and wanted to call my mill, but I got weirdly scared-eyed and told her to wait. I am so bad at confrontations and get very nervous. After 2 days of crying and crying, my mom had enough and she talked to my Mill. Mill was very weird and kept trying to change subject, constantly saying that whatever happened is in the past now. I was so heartbroken. My mom was angry and told her that I would not be going back to that house ever again, and that finally broke my Mill, and she started apologizing for what happened. I know she was only apologizing because she wants to keep a good perception of herself around others. My mother hung up, and that is the last conversation we had with my Mill. I am still beating myself up over how I should have talked to her myself too, but I also think since they were the ones who got us married, they should handle this too. Ike. During these days, my husband has visited every day. Texts and calls all the time, and has stayed over for 3 days too. I believe it's his way of showing support. We have started to look for apartments that is affordable and suitable for our small family. We don't have a lot of money, but we are trying, and my parents are also willing to help. I haven't felt this happy and loved ever. Life seems to be finally moving the right way. I have realized that marriage should not happen like this. This stupid arranged marriage culture needs to be illegal. I am lucky to have such a lovely husband, but things could have easily gone wrong. I will never be the mother who wants to rule over my son's life. My son is a human and I will treat him as such. Now on to the Hot Takes podcast. I like their advice and am very grateful they shared my story. However, I do not want to be the bigger person here. I just refuse to be. Because while I am sure I would be welcome to that house whenever, but these things will not go away. My Mill will be good for a little while, but I am sure she will go back to her ways. They were very kind in understanding me, and I am so thankful for all the advice in the comment section. I hope my little family stays mine forever.